In 1976, America celebrated its 200th birthday, and fittingly, in January of that year, the Steelers and Cowboys met in Super Bowl X, a game which boasted fireworks worthy of any bicentennial party.
Super Sunday dawned bright and beautiful, like a scene from a Miami travel poster. But amid the sun-dappled skies and swaying palms, an alien sound soon pierced the air. A particular brand of football fanatic, known as the Steeler fan, swarmed outside Miami's Orange Bowl hours before game time. Pittsburgh partisans seemed to be everywhere, wearing almost anything, and all readily identifiable as partial to the Steeler cause. There were to be two teams participating in Super Bowl X, but Pittsburgh Hard Hats outnumbered Dallas Stetsons 3-1. This battle to be #1 among the boisterous celebrants continued long and loud inside the stadium. The Roman numeral classic known as Super Bowl X was to be witnessed not only by the 80,187 in the Orange Bowl, but well over 80 million TV viewers, the largest audience in television history. The pre-game festivities merely stoked the fires for the main attraction, the two finest teams in professional football. The surprising Dallas Cowboys were the Cinderella team of the NFL. Relegated to the purgatory of rebuilding before the season began, Dallas parlayed a new spirit and some last-minute miracles into a storybook season that would culminate with this, their third visit to the Super Bowl. While Dallas needed miracles to reach the summit, Pittsburgh had few pitfalls along the way. For the Steelers had gone from Cinderella status to establishment powerhouse in a single year. Standing between them and a second Super Bowl victory was the master of innovation, Tom Landry. With Landry's slide rule mind on the sidelines and Roger Staubach on the field, Dallas has a nearly unbeatable combination. For Staubach personifies the quarterback as a leader, and his talent is indisputable. His counterpart in Pittsburgh is that famed country singer, Terry Bradshaw. With a stature of Super Bowl IX's Tiffany Trophy behind him, the new Bradshaw is confident and mature. Two teams, both with strong young quarterbacks, but one major difference, Pittsburgh's great steel curtain defense. In all of football, there is no match for it. Super Bowl X, like the 9 others before it, had an abundance of pageantry and pizzazz. But for the first time, the carnival of color was completely overshadowed by the game itself. For Super Bowl X was the most exciting Super Bowl ever.
Blue penny?
The tempo of the game was set from the start. Dallas's reverse on the opening kickoff surprised Pittsburgh, and only Roy Gerela kept Tom Henderson from going all the way. But the little kicker paid a big price. He suffered badly bruised ribs that would affect his performance all day. Dallas's flimflammery had given them the ball in Steeler territory, and already everyone sensed this Super Bowl would break the mold. On the first play from scrimmage, L.C. Greenwood stripped Roger Staubach of the ball. Center John Fitzgerald was on the spot, but the Cowboys were forced to punt. Dallas soon got a second, even better chance when Pittsburgh punter Bobby Walden dropped the ball, and the Dallas special teams swarmed quickly in on their prey. This scene was etched indelibly on the mind of Chuck Noll, for Pittsburgh's poor kicking game was something that would haunt him all afternoon. On the very next play from the Pittsburgh 29, the Cowboys' multiple movements created confusion in the Steeler defense. Staubach's play fake and Dallas's decoys cleared the middle. Drew Pearson filled the void, gathered in a perfect pass from Jolly Roger, and was free. The Steelers were stunned. It was the only touchdown they permitted in the first quarter of the entire season, a total of 17 games. The Cowboys had made it look easy. But led by Terry Bradshaw, the Steelers came roaring back. Lynn Swann's kangaroo catch put Pittsburgh in close. Then Bradshaw crossed up the Cowboy computer with play 333, an unusual three-tight end formation that the Dallas defense knew Pittsburgh always ran from. When number 72, Jerry Mullins, went in motion as the third tight end, the Cowboys defense followed him toward the middle. But Bradshaw rolled right and hit a wide-open Randy Grossman for the touchdown that tied the game. Each team had fooled the other for a score, but Dallas had another surprise in store that frustrated Pittsburgh's defense. Their running game didn't figure to dent the steel curtain, but now using traps and draws, the Cowboys' no-name offensive backs drove downfield. They amassed 42 yards, nearly 3 times as much in one series as the Minnesota Vikings gained on the ground for all of Super Bowl IX. Finally, the Dallas running stalled, and forced to pass on 3rd and long, Roger Staubach had a close brush with disaster. Glenn Edwards' near miss of a coast-to-coast interception gave Dallas another chance, this time for 3 points on Tony Frisch's field goal. Dallas had moved the ball against proud Pittsburgh on 2 consecutive series and now led the Steelers 10-7.
Bargain shopper.
The start of the second quarter, Pittsburgh stormed back through the air. John Stallworth failed to hold onto a catch Dallas thought they had recovered, but the pass was ruled complete. An uncharacteristically emotional Tom Landry needn't have worried, however, for when Pittsburgh gambled to go for a 4th and 2 from the Dallas 36, All-Pro safety Cliff Harris stepped to the fore. The team's leading hitman, Harris taunted Pittsburgh all day. His intimidation tactics paid off when Franco Harris, of all people, took his eyes off a perfect pass. For the doomsday defense and pugnacious Cliff Harris, stopping Franco was the key to Super Bowl X. And they stopped him nearly every time he touched the ball. Franco Harris has the unique ability to cut back against the grain, leaving opponents flailing at air. But today, Pittsburgh's big gun was fired 27 times for only 82 yards. Harris never got outside all day. But while Doomsday erected a tombstone for Franco, they completely missed the target in Terry Bradshaw and the Pittsburgh passing attack. seemingly with hours of pocket time, the rifle-armed Steeler quarterback exploited the Cowboys through the air. Lynn Swann's levitating leap was one of the great catches in football history. Though Swann, who would later be named the game's most valuable player, literally rose to the occasion on the 53-yard pass, Pittsburgh moved no further and looked to Roy Gerela to put the points on the scoreboard that would tie the game. It was the first of 3 kicks Gerela would miss on the day, but the modest 10-7 score in no way reflected the furious action crammed into the first half of Super Bowl 10.
12 guys with sticks and a hard rubber ball.
In the third quarter, another Gerela miss was vital to the outcome of the game. Cliff Harris celebrated the kicker's misfortunes with glee, but number 58, Jack Lambert, quickly came to the rescue. Though Gerela's nemesis was spirited away from danger, the damage was done. Lambert, who many feel stands as the successor to Dick Butkus as the most fearsome defensive player in football, later said, "No one can be allowed to intimidate us. We're supposed to be the intimidators." Lambert used the incident to psych himself to an even higher level of rage. With Joe Green injured, Jack Lambert became the new symbol of Steeler muscle, sifting and rooting through blockers until he found the ball carrier. And Jack Lambert found them 14 times in Super Bowl 10. Harris's harmless heckling and Lambert's inspired reaction to it became a turning point for the Steel Curtain defense, and the Dallas Cowboys paid the price. A defensive target was center John Fitzgerald, the trigger on the Dallas shotgun. In an alignment that had both tackles helmet to helmet with him, Pittsburgh made the long, blind center snap even harder to execute. But the biggest factor on defense was blanket coverage by the Steelers secondary. The shotgun was designed to give Starbuck extra time and improved sight lines to his receivers, but they seldom came open, and the Pittsburgh front four frolicked in. In the second half, the Pittsburgh defense jammed the shotgun and reduced it to a squirt, setting a Super Bowl record 7 sacks as a Niagara of gold and black poured down on Roger Staubach. Pittsburgh's Steel Curtain had physically taken control of the game. But despite their mastery on the field, what takes place on the sidelines is of equal import to a well-coordinated defense.
They've been running that P13 IC. They've been eyeing Fat Seat. And with pass protection eye and the I formation, screw the pass. It's play, pass, or run, so the hell with the pass. You get pass influence with an eye, play the run. Because they got him to rush upfield, and that's when they've been running that delayed P13. That's what they were. Yeah. And the other thing is they ran a ride 35 and they cut all the way behind you. You can't help with that. That's got to be Lambert and that's got to be LC. When he sees that, he's got to close it. If you start screwing with that, they're going to go up inside of you. Hey, LC, if they cut all the way behind our stunt tackle. Did your guy, I don't know what kind of block he used, but they got inside of you. And when you're in a 2-gap, he tries to jump inside.
Yeah. He just hauled me down. I was 2-gap and I went into him and he just rolled
Drive
down.
that all the way back because they have no thought of going outside on that. It's all cut back. We got out of that series. We got a lot learned there with 3 points. We ought to be all right.
Despite Pittsburgh's defensive dominance, the game was still 10-7 and belonged to Dallas. Then at the start of the final period, Dallas was forced to punt near its end zone. Chuck Noll called for an uncommon all-out rush with 10 men poised at the line ready to charge the punter. Mitch Hupps never knew what hit him. Reggie Harrison's kamikaze charge blocked the ball and sent it out of the end zone for a safety. As so often happens in pro football, a pivotal play was made by the special teams. Pittsburgh now trailed Dallas by a single point. The safety meant more than 2 points, for with a free kick coming, Pittsburgh would have good field position and the opportunity to score again. Indeed, the kick was taken by Mike Collier, and the rookie returned it inside Dallas territory. With their backs to the wall, the Doomsday defense played tough, and Pittsburgh came up short of a first down. The Steelers' fate was once more riding on the foot of Roy Girella, whose aching ribs and bruised psyche did not engender much confidence at this juncture of the game. But the kick was true, and Girella made certain his nemesis, Cliff Harris, was aware of it. More importantly, the Pittsburgh Steelers had taken the lead for the first time in Super Bowl 10. After the field goal, a great individual effort by safety Mike Wagner, number 23, stunned Dallas. On the same play that earlier had worked for a touchdown, Wagner had gambled and won. The Steelers safeties were supposed to kick out, go deep, which would allow Drew Pearson to cut across the middle alone, as he did on his first period touchdown. It's been our bread and butter play all season, Roger Staubach said later. It was the first time it didn't work. Wagner's great play put Pittsburgh deep. But on 3rd and goal, with the Dallas defense backed up on their own 1-yard line, the Steelers were stopped short of a touchdown again. Franco Harris recovered his own fumble, but Pittsburgh had missed a golden opportunity to put the game away. Roy Girella was called upon for a chip shot, and his kick was good. But Dallas was only 5 points behind, with in Super Bowl 10. All day, Mark Washington had been a target for the Pittsburgh air attack. Now on 3rd and 4, Bradshaw read a blitz that would leave the cornerback exposed in single coverage with Lynn Swann. The result is Super Bowl history. The 64-yard touchdown pass had seemingly put the game out of reach. But while the graceful Swan was celebrating at one end of the field, Terry Bradshaw had been knocked senseless at the other. On the touchdown play, Tom Landry, trying to change the course of the game, had called an all-out blitz. D.D. Lewis, number 50, was the first man in but missed. And then with 2 more Cowboys bearing down, Bradshaw stood his ground and let fly. Accounts of the game report Cliff Harris hit Bradshaw, but it was number 63, tackle Larry Cole, who leveled him. One look at Cole and D.D. Lewis tells all you need to know about the results of the play. Terry Bradshaw left the field with a concussion, but he left a hero. Under his leadership, Pittsburgh had 4 scores in the space of 8 minutes, and ahead now by 11 points with only 3 minutes left. The Steelers appeared to have Super Bowl 10 salted away. But if Pittsburgh thought the issue was settled, Dallas didn't. With the clock running, the Cowboys came winging downfield on the arm of Roger Staubach. Staubach is a former naval officer who never gives up the ship. Against impossible odds, he took his team 80 yards on 4 passes to the touchdown that brought Dallas to within 4 points of the Steelers. Every one of the 80 million plus who watched this game knew what was coming next. Number 72 tackle Jerry Mullins successfully fielded the onside kick, and the Pittsburgh offense, now led by Terry Hanratty, tried to run out the clock. Pittsburgh gained only a single yard in 3 tries. Now, with 1:28 showing, the Steelers were faced with 4th and 9. Here, Chuck Noll made a controversial decision. Everyone expected Pittsburgh to punt, but knowing Dallas had already used up their timeouts, Noll disdained the punt and ran the ball again. Needing 9 yards, it wasn't even close, and Dallas had another chance to score. No one, not even Noll's own players, understood his decision, but it was born from Pittsburgh's punting problems. Walden had dropped 1 punt and nearly had 2 others blocked earlier in the game. Noll had no confidence in his kicking game, and rather than risk the punt, left the issue up to his great defense. It came down to Roger Staubach versus the Steel Curtain defense for one final round. Visions of the Minnesota Miracle flashed through the minds of Dallas fans everywhere. Staubach threw short to former Steeler Preston Pearson, who inexplicably turned toward the middle rather than get out of bounds to stop the clock. Now into Pittsburgh real estate, disaster nearly occurred. Seconds left, and the cool courage of Staubach contrasted with a frantic finish, but the quarterback was throwing against a stacked deck. Three seconds left. Time for one last play in the Super Bowl 10. One last chance for the Cowboys to complete their impossible dream. With Glenn Edwards' interception, Pittsburgh's victory was secure. From the opening kickoff to the final gun, Super Bowl 10 had more fireworks than any bicentennial celebration could possibly match. Chuck Noll joined Don Shula and Vince Lombardi as the only coaches to win the Super Bowl twice. The Pittsburgh Steelers now ranked with Green Bay and Miami as one of the great teams in pro football history. The Dallas Dream fell just 4 points short, but as Mel Renfro said, we have no regrets. We played as well as we possibly could. For the Steelers who won and the Cowboys who almost did, both could be proud to be part of the greatest Super Bowl ever played.
In Green Bay's Cathedral of Football, one man, Lombardi, was high priest.
We're trying to get us a seal here and a seal here and try to run this play in the alley.
Vince Lombardi employed a Spartan yet sublime game plan, relentlessly driving the Packers toward perfection.
What the hell's going on out here? Everybody grabbing out there. Nobody touching. Just grabbing, everybody. Grab. Nobody touching. Put your shoulders in there out there.
Vince Lombardi, a man for the ages. Tonight we salute this legendary figure. by reviewing and rewarding the Super Bowl's greatest performers.
ESPN2's big event coverage of Super Bowl 30 continues with the NFL's 30th anniversary team.
For nearly 3 decades, the Super Bowl has been a larger-than-life spectacle dominated by pro football's greatest teams and greatest players. Everything about this ultimate contest is imposing. And the intensity of this event is magnified not only by the millions who are watching, but more importantly, by what is at stake.
We busted our ass. We've worked harder than anybody to get here. Nobody can beat us in a team, and it's worth $70,000 and a big ring.
Many have competed in Pro Football Showcase event, but only a few played their best on Super Sunday. In celebration of the Super Bowl's 30th anniversary, an all-time team of 26 players and one immortal head coach has been chosen as the NFL's all-time Super Bowl team. Winning a Super Bowl is the crowning achievement for an NFL head coach. In 29 years of competition, just 15 head coaches have experienced this exhilaration. Their reward, a silver trophy, bearing the name of the coach whose accomplishments set the standard by which all members of the profession are measured. He is the head coach of the all-time Super Bowl team, Vince Lombardi.
Everybody grabbing out there. Nobody tackling. Just grabbing, everybody. Grab, grab, grab.
In the first 2 Super Bowls, Green Bay's greatness was fueled by Lombardi's will to win.
Coach Lombardi used to say that there are 3 important things in your life: your God, your family, and the Green Bay Packers. He taught us about commitment. He taught us about consistency. He taught us about preparation. He taught us about the price you have to pay to win.
In Super Bowl I, Lombardi's Packers destroyed the Kansas City Chiefs 35-10, while projecting an aura of invincibility that few teams have ever demonstrated.
I think fear certainly was part of it. Just the invincibility that they sort of portrayed to whomever they played.
Fake to Taylor. Starr shoots it, and it's a touchdown.
Vince Lombardi, I don't think that I ever saw anybody who had a more thorough knowledge, not just of where the play should be run and how the block should be executed, but every little detail.
You look at this play, what we're trying to get is a seal here and a seal here, and try to run this play in the alley.
Lombardi had that ability to teach, and they had the ability to take advantage of his knowledge.
Super Bowl II proved to be an honorable end to the Lombardi era.
We had all been pretty aware of the fact that Coach Lombardi was thinking very, very seriously about retirement. And I said to the fellows, I said, look, we got 30 more minutes this year. I said, let's give it to the old man. Let's play the last 30 for the old man. That's about all I said.
The Packers routed the Raiders 33-14, thus paying a final and fitting tribute to the man whom many consider to be the greatest head coach in NFL history.
I'd just like to say that I'm real pleased with everything, and I'm very, very, very grateful, really, believe me. I think they got a great bunch of boys, and they certainly deserve what they got.
Upon his death in 1970, Vince Lombardi's name became a permanent part of pro football's greatest prize, and the objective that every NFL head coach aspires.
Call 1-800-313-1818.
No defense has dominated pro football like the Pittsburgh Steelers defense in the 1970s. In 6 years, from 1974 through 79, the Steelers won 4 Super Bowls. The foundation of the defense was the defensive line, and the cornerstones of the defensive line were L.C. Greenwood, number 68, and Joe Green, number 75.
Winning the game is a given.
L.C. Greenwood's penetration helped set up the first score of the game.
No, I had goose pimples all over. I mean, the thrill of that moment, the chills. I mean, we floated through the entire game.
And they floated through the Vikings' offensive line, harassing quarterback Fran Tarkenton all day. A fumble recovery and an interception by Green would close the book on the Vikings. In Super Bowl 14 against the Rams, Greenwood and Green helped turn a 13-10 Rams lead into a 31-19 Steelers victory by limiting Los Angeles to 6 points in the second half. And in Super Bowls 10 and 13, the formidable duo helped pound Roger Staubach and the Cowboys into submission. Today, Joe Green and L.C. Greenwood are each the owners of 4 Super Bowl rings. 2 of them coming at the expense of Cowboys defensive lineman Randy White and Harvey Martin, whom they first met in Super Bowl 10.
I was all over the field. I mean, I was 25 years old and just wild and crazy, wanting to win the Super Bowl. We played the Steelers, a very tough ball game.
A post-game party helped give Martin all the incentive he would need to someday wear the ring of a champion.
I really couldn't have a good time because we lost. And even though it was a Super Bowl party, I really wanted to know what a winner's party was like.
It was going to be real important for us to have a big day if our team was going to win. Pressure Craig Morton early, get him off stride and get him rattled a little bit.
The thing that stood out the most was Randy and I's intensity. I mean, we were looking at each other, we were side by side, we were ready. And there was nobody in the whole NFL could have blocked either Randy or myself that Sunday.
They killed me. They really killed me.
Together, White and Martin knocked Craig Morton out of the game. His replacement, Norris Weiss, would fare no better. All game, Randy White, the manster, manhandled whoever lined up across from him.
Star out of it.
Randy White and Harvey Martin finally had their victory party, and part of their reward for a dominating performance was being designated co-MVPs.
I'm standing on the sideline, and believe it or not, Randy and I were standing next to each other. And I'll never forget the announcer coming across on the loudspeakers and saying, for the first time in history, we have two most valuable players, Harvey Martin and Randy White, and I just almost fainted.
That was kind of like icing on the cake, but, you know, winning that world championship was the most important thing.
Randy White and Harvey Martin, half of the 30th anniversary Super Bowl all-time team's defensive line. For one memorable game, Rod Martin of the Oakland Raiders was the greatest linebacker ever. In Super Bowl 15, Martin set up Oakland's first touchdown with a first-quarter interception. And for 4 quarters, he helped stop the Eagles' vaunted rushing attack. Lasting legacy remains a single-game Super Bowl record of 3 interceptions.
Back is Jaworski. Sets up really deep. Now comes up the middle. Picked off. Rod Martin to third.
Along with Rod Martin, Cowboys linebacker Chuck Howley ranks as the greatest interceptor in Super Bowl history. In Super Bowl V, Howley intercepted Hall of Fame quarterback Johnny Unitas of the Colts twice. Howley became the only member of a losing team to earn MVP honors in a Super Bowl. But Howley wanted to place a ring next to his trophy, and the next year against the Dolphins, he got it. Howley set up the Cowboys' final touchdown when he intercepted Bob Greasy at the 50-yard line and returned it all the way to the Dolphins' 9. While Howley led Dallas to their first Super Bowl victory, another Cowboy linebacker helped lead them to their 3rd and 4th Lombardi trophies. Ken Norton Jr. helped deliver the knockout punch in back-to-back victories over the Bills in Super Bowls 27 and 28. The turning point of Super Bowl 27 was an heroic goal line stand, and on 3rd down, Norton delivered the blow that kept the Bills out of the end zone. Put the exclamation point on a 52-17 Cowboys victory with a 9-yard fumble recovery for a touchdown.
Back-to-back, baby! Cowboys back-to-back now.
But it didn't stop at back-to-back. With the 49ers in Super Bowl 29, Norton won an unprecedented 3rd straight Super Bowl ring. In 1974, his rookie year, Steelers linebacker Jack Lambert was the final piece in the Super Bowl puzzle that Pittsburgh had been assembling since the late 60s. He led the steel curtain that limited the Vikings to 119 total yards, the fewest in Super Bowl history. And against Dallas in Super Bowl X, Lambert gave Cowboys Cliff Harris a lesson in etiquette that served as a wake-up call for the Steelers' defense.
It was just a spur-of-the-moment thing. Roy missed the field goal, very simply. I turned around, and I saw Harris smacking him alongside the helmet. So I went back, I grabbed him by the shoulder pads, and I threw him down. And the referee, or the umpire, someone said to me, "You're out. You're out of here, Lambert." I said, "Wait a minute." I said, "This is a Super Bowl. You can't throw me out of this game." He said, "Well, you get back in the huddle and you shut up." And I said, "Yes, sir."
Inspired by Lambert's actions, Pittsburgh shut down the Dallas attack. Although he made big plays in 4 Super Bowls, one hit stands out in Lambert's mind.
I had a pretty good one in a Super Bowl against Dallas on Preston Pearson. It was shortly after the Harris incident that I think really got some people fired up.
In Super Bowl 14, Lambert was again all over the field, and he helped put the final nail in the Rams' coffin.
Ferragamo back to pass, shoots it over the middle. Intercepted by the Steelers. Lambert at the 15, the 20. Lambert still on his feet, cutting to the middle of the field. He's down at the 30-yard line. First interception of the game off the arm of Ferragamo. And for Pittsburgh Steelers fans, it could not have come at a better time with 5:24 to go in the game.
Jack Lambert, a player for all time and a member of the all-time Super Bowl team.
Some of the people who benefit most from the Discovered card don't even have one.
The list of defensive backs on the NFL's all-time Super Bowl team begins with Hall of Fame cornerback Mel Blount, number 47 of the Pittsburgh Steelers. In 4 Super Bowl appearances, Blount annually blanketed the game's best receivers, and the result yielded a pair of interceptions.
Staubach is back deep, and he winds up and throws. Intercepted by Blount at the 20. He's up over the 25.
An integral part of the Steel Curtain defense
Mel Blount
always seemed to be in the right place at the right time. Big plays such as these
Blount came up with the interception.
enabled the Steelers to win 4 Super Bowls in 6 years. While Blount holds down one corner, the other corner is manned by Ronnie Lott, number 42, a ferocious San Francisco 49ers defensive back who helped shut down Dan Marino in Super Bowl 19. Lott's instinctive and physical play early in his career at corner and later at safety often inspired the 49ers defense.
46A boss, on two.
One hit in particular helped to turn around Super Bowl 23.
The Cincinnati running game was dominating our play at that time. And Mickey Woods, each time he'd get the ball, it seems that he was getting stronger. You could sense it. I was in the press box, and you could sense him taking over the ball game.
If you watch all the films prior to that game, there wasn't one free safety that had came up and hit Mickey Woods straight up.
It was like, you know, Ronnie Lott to the rescue. I mean, how many times has the man done this in his career? But his hit set the tempo for the rest of our defense.
Excited by the play of this All-Pro, the 49ers rallied to beat the Bengals and win their 3rd world championship.
Everybody sold out this week. Everybody. Damn, it's great, isn't it?
A year later, this ultimate warrior helped hold the Broncos to 10 points as the 49ers won their 4th Super Bowl of the 80s.
Bobo. Read it. Back to back. Back to back.
At safety, Jake Scott, number 13, also won back-to-back Super Bowls as a member of the Miami Dolphins' famed no-name defense. In Super Bowl 8, Scott helped to beat the Vikings with aggressive tackling and a fumble recovery. But it was in Super Bowl 7 that his play earned the game's MVP. most spectacular catch of an interception in a Super Bowl. Scott dashed Washington's final comeback hopes.
Let's see if they can stop him. Gilmer drops the throw. He sets. He fires the middle. It is touchdown. And the end zone. Jake Scott 5, 10, 15 to the 20, 25, 30, 35, 40.
The Dolphins finished as the NFL's only undefeated Super Bowl champions. And Jake Scott became the only defensive back to win the game's Most Valuable Player award. 21 years later, in Super Bowl 28, Dallas Cowboys safety James Washington, number 37, could have been named MVP for his hard-hitting and impact-producing play against the Buffalo Bills. One of Washington's big hits produced an even bigger fumble. Then, in the third quarter, Washington turned a tight game into a rout. Number 37 completed the turnover hat trick with a fourth-quarter interception that finally finished off Buffalo. James Washington joins Jake Scott, Ronnie Lott, and Mel Blount in the all-time Super Bowl secondary. The specialists for the all-time Super Bowl team start with punter Ray Guy of the Raiders, whose first punt in Super Bowl 11 proved to be a nightmare.
One man behind the line of scrimmage on the rush. Here comes the kick. It is blocked. It's blocked by...
For Ray Guy, this blocked punt was an aberration, a quirk during an almost machine-like career.
And Raymond Guy has suffered his first blocked punt in a 4-year pro career.
In 3 Super Bowl appearances, Guy averaged almost 42 yards every time he put his foot to the football. This not only earned him a spot on the all-time Super Bowl team, but helped make him one of the greatest players in Raiders history.
If I were to pick one player that would get the adulation and the nod of all of our past great players, and no one would be offended, perhaps I could say the greatest punter who ever played the game, Ray Guy, our #1 draft choice many years ago. Ray Guy would be someone that everyone could nod their head and say, gee, that's a good choice, Coach. That's a good choice.
A good choice for return specialist on the all-time Super Bowl team is Fulton Walker, number 41 of the Miami Dolphins.
To the 5, to the 10, comes to the near side, to the 20. He's out to the 25, turns it back. He's gone. He's gone. It's a touchdown. A 98-yard kickoff return for a touchdown.
Walker posted the first kickoff return for a touchdown in Super Bowl history. The place-kicking duties go to the only kicker who ever won a Super Bowl, Jim O'Brien of the Baltimore Colts.
I always pretended like every field goal was the last second of a championship game, not necessarily the Super Bowl, because they didn't have that when I was in high school, but even in college and even when I was practicing in the pros, my kicks in practice were always that last second field goal. I wasn't the greatest kicker, and I never pretended to be. I never told anybody I was. Whenever we needed a kick, I made it. I never missed a kick that would have won a game.
In Super Bowl 5, O'Brien's extra point tied the game at 13 late in the fourth quarter. But with time running out, an unthinkable mistake by the Dallas Cowboys offered O'Brien one final chance to fulfill every kicker's dream.
Gets the pass away down the sideline. Intercepted by Mike Curtis. At the 25, the 20, down to the 23-yard line. The Colts have the football.
We were very surprised that he had even thrown it so Mike could intercept it. At that point, we knew it was going to be a field goal. And at that time, Coach McCafferty yelled to John Sandusky to get the field goal team ready.
Tell them all not to sit, so you tell them to sit. If they overload one side, give a man over right, a man over left.
I was standing on the sideline going crazy. I said, you got to do it. You got it. And he was so calm it didn't make sense. He said, you know, everything's cool.
We're going to win this game.
With Super Bowl V as the prize. The Colts placed their world championship dreams squarely on the right toe of their rookie place kicker, Jim O'Brien.
9 seconds showing on the clock. The Cowboys and the Colts all tied up at 13-13. Morrill is kneeling. O'Brien is ready. There is the snap. The kick is up. It is long enough. It hits. A 32-yard field goal by Jimmy O'Brien. It is good.
I knew that it was going to be good. It had probably gone 55 yards. It was my best kick of my life. And I was, very fortunate to be able to be in that spot and to be successful.
And the Baltimore Colts have just won themselves a Super Bowl.
Still the only place kicker to win a Super Bowl, Jim O'Brien's clutch performance earned him a spot on the all-time Super Bowl team.
If you have one of these, or one of these, or even one of these, then you own the engine to the most powerful, most useful tool ever invented. Introducing the Roto 7 Power Disc.
The all-time Super Bowl offensive line. There's a Dolphin and Redskin on one side, Raiders on the other, and Iron Mike Webster in the middle.
He was like the quarterback, the leader of the whole offensive unit, the offensive line. Certainly no one was ever better than Mike Webster at number one, recognizing, and number two is the leadership that he portrayed throughout those years.
Webster was a center who could clear sight lines for Bradshaw or open devastating holes for Franco, and helped create many of the great plays that earned the Steelers rings.
I think the one that really sticks in my mind is the third down tackle trap we ran against Dallas in the Super Bowl. Franco busted us, I think, for 22 yards and a touchdown. I think when you score on a long run, it's a little more satisfying than scoring on a long pass.
While Mike Webster's might and muscle made him the center on the all-time Super Bowl team, number 66 Larry Little earned one of the guard spots with intensity and hustle that helped carry the Miami Dolphins to 3 straight Super Bowl appearances. Miami lost Super Bowl VI, but in Super Bowl VII, number 66 helped the Dolphins secure pro football's only undefeated season. Dolphin runners controlled the ball behind the play of Little, who threw key blocks that resulted in both Dolphins' touchdowns.
Bob drops and throws. He sets up. He is firing for Willie. He's got it. And he's in for the touchdown.
In Super Bowl VIII 1 year later, Little helped the Dolphins dominate the Minnesota Vikings. Miami threw the fewest passes in a Super Bowl game, and Little opened holes for game MVP Larry Zonka, who piled up 145 yards. While Larry Little helped one imposing running back earn his MVP fame, the Redskins' Joe Jacoby, number 66, was a gigantic offensive tackle who earned the same fame for John Riggins.
Break up that defense. Let's go defense.
Joe Jacoby was the horsepower that drove the diesel and roared down the Dolphins in Super Bowl XVII.
Joe Jacoby and Russ Grimm, the two hogs that time of the big fly.
With the game on the line in the fourth quarter, all the Redskins needed was 1 yard on 4th down. Running behind big number 66, they got that yard and a world championship.
Goal line, eye left tight wing, 70 chip on white. Ready? Yellow 41! Yellow 41! Punch.
There's the snap, hand to Riggins. Good hole. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 35, the 30, the 20. He's gone. He's gone. Touchdown, Washington Redskins.
Riggins earned his place in history. And with number 66 at tackle, the Redskins also won Super Bowls 22 and 26. While Jacoby and Little hold down one side of the all-time Super Bowl offensive line, the other side is manned by Raiders teammates. Guard Gene Upshaw, number 63, and Art Shell, number 78, blew away the left side of the Vikings defense in Super Bowl 11.
On game day, I turned to G and I said, the Vikings don't know what they're in for today. We were going to knock them off the ball.
One of the plays that we ran was Bob Trejo. Ran 17 Bob Trejo, and we got backed up near the goal line, and we needed to get out of there because they were in good position. And Clarence jumped out of there on 17 Bob Trejo and went 60-something yards on the play, I think it was. And we ran the ball fairly well.
Fairly well might be an understatement.
Holy Toledo! The Oakland line is just wiping out Minnesota's front.
The Raiders dominated from start to finish as Shell and Upshaw helped prove that might makes right, winning their first Super Bowl in a fierce display of force.
Stabler back to pass, a quick throw into the end zone. Casper, touchdown Raiders!
Super! All right, go! No way they can stop us.
Art Shell and Gene Upshaw, Hall of Fame cornerstones that helped the Raiders win 2 world championships, and deserving members of the all-time Super Bowl offensive line. The receivers for the all-time Super Bowl team begin with the tight end. Number 89, Dan Ross of the Cincinnati Bengals. In Super Bowl 16, Ross burned the 49ers with 11 catches, the most ever in a Super Bowl. He also scored 2 of the Bengals' 3 touchdowns.
Anderson will go back to throw. Looks, fires into the end zone. Touchdown to Dan Ross.
Though the Bengals lost, number 89 played his best when it mattered most.
End zone, touchdown to Dan Ross. Ross gets his 11th pass reception, a new Super Bowl record.
Ross is joined on the all-time Super Bowl receiving unit by wideout Lynn Swann.
If you work really hard, you may produce one moment in life. It's your moment. They can never take it away from you. Super Bowl 10, for me, was one of those moments. You go out there and it's that first catch. I needed that pass desperately. I had to have it. And Mark Washington, number 46 for the Cowboys, I mean, he is on me like glue. He is right there. He's cut me off. But Terry put the ball out there and gave me a chance to make the catch.
What a great play.
I only caught 4 passes in that game, and 1 for a touchdown. But they were the biggest 4 because of a sight, because of the Super Bowl.
After making the greatest catch in Super Bowl history, Swann capped off his performance with a touchdown and the game's MVP award.
People will make other spectacular catches. They'll be game-winning catches. But Super Bowl 10, that Sunday, that was my day.
There were others, including Super Bowl 13, where Swann dashed Dallas's hopes with a late touchdown.
Now he fires for the ball, and Lynn Swann going for it. Swann pulls it in for a touchdown. Lynn Swann beat his man on a ball.
Swann exploded again in Super Bowl 14, as the Los Angeles Rams were no match for number 88's big game aerobatics.
Bradshaw is back, and he's going to Swann, and Swann makes a circus catch in the end zone. Unbelievable catch for the touchdown. He looked like a flying circus. Holy smokes!
Lynn Swann's unique flair for the dramatic was perfectly suited for the Super Bowl. The same can be said of 49ers wide receiver Jerry Rice, who has always shined his brightest in the glow of pro football's biggest spotlight.
My job is to make plays.
All right, oh, we need one.
I think I play my best football when everything is on the line.
Another brilliant cut by Jerry Rice.
Coach, you're going to go, you know, it's to Rice now.
What the Bengals knew and what they could do about it were different things entirely.
Rice goes over the 200-yard mark in receiving. That was a 27-yard gainer on 2nd down and 20.
What a day. 11 catches for 221 yards.
Simply put, Jerry Rice's performance was the greatest by a wide receiver in Super Bowl history. The 49ers rode their record-setting MVP to a world championship. Then, the next year, they watched him set another Super Bowl receiving record with 3 touchdowns against the Denver Broncos.
Montana drops back to throw, looks over the field, goes for the end zone. Jerry Rice, touchdown, 49ers!
The approach that I take is that I'm scared. Whenever I go into a game, when I play scared, I play my best football. The last Super Bowl, when we faced San Diego, those are the type of teams that really scare you. So, you know, that really motivates me and get me into the right frame of mind. I'm focused and I know exactly what I have to do.
Rice was speeding towards another record-setting Super Bowl when he was nearly knocked off track. This blow separated his left shoulder. Pain forced Rice to retreat into the locker room. But pride would bring him back and prove why he is the game's greatest and guttiest receiver.
It was very important for me to get back out there on the football field. You know, just to show everyone that you're not going to be 100% at times, and you still got to go there somehow and get the job done. I was trying to snap my chin strap, and I couldn't do it. And I passed right by Dion, and I told Dion, why don't you fasten this for me? And I think Dion told me, he said, look, you know, he said, you're the best out here. He said, no one can stop you. And I think that really meant a lot to me when he said that, and that really got me completely focused and in on what I have to do.
In spite of the pain, Rice pulled in 10 passes and tied his own Super Bowl record with 3 touchdown receptions.
John, quick pass, slanted, Jerry Rice, another touchdown! Jerry Rice!
A wide receiver who earned his place on the all-time Super Bowl team with both achievement and courage. In the 30-year history of the Super Bowl, no one has ever run harder than Larry Zonka.
Larry Zonka gave us that tremendous physical, the feeling of being more powerful than the people that we were playing against. All you had to do is look at Zonka, and you got that feeling because this was a powerful man.
In Super Bowl VII, Zonka tallied 112 yards in a win against the Redskins.
I liked that style. I won't hide that. I preferred to run inside, and it was kind of fun to meet head-on. When I won, it was very rewarding. When all else fails, and it's obvious it's going to come down to a direct physical confrontation, I always thought it reflected a higher degree of intelligence to do the inflicting first.
In Super Bowl VIII, Zonka ran away with the MVP award by running over the Vikings for a Super Bowl record 145 yards and 2 touchdowns. Leading his team to back-to-back Super Bowl victories is Zonka's legacy. Franco Harris helped lead his team to 4 Super Bowl victories, raising his level of play when it counted the most.
He'd be walking back and forth, He'd get this real determined pace. The pace would turn into a stride. He'd go back and forth. And he'd walk by you, his eyes would just open up. And you just look at you and you go, go ahead and do it today, right? Let's go get him, Swanee. Come on, play great, play great. Then he'd keep going. That's all. And he'd get in that ball game, and he'd do it.
In the big game, there was no one better than Franco. No one. I mean, he lived for them.
When a challenge had to be met, and I asked myself, did I meet it? And when you do, you feel good about it.
Harris met the challenge against the Vikings in Super Bowl IX, earning MVP honors by breaking Zonka's Super Bowl rushing record by tallying 158 yards on 34 carries. And the Steelers faced off against the Cowboys in Super Bowls 10 and 13. And both times, Harris was the battering ram that splintered Dallas's vaunted doomsday defense. His 22-yard touchdown run in Super Bowl 13 helped Pittsburgh to a 35-31 victory.
Touchdown, Pittsburgh. They opened it up down the middle, and the big guy went straight ahead through the hole. He knocked them loose in every direction. How about Dallas?
Clinging to a 24-19 lead against the Rams in Super Bowl 14, Harris sealed the Steelers' unprecedented fourth Super Bowl victory.
Now, if they can ill afford any kind of score right here, the game will be put out of reach by the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Harris slashes off the left side for a touchdown. Franco Harris slashing off
in the pantheon of big game running backs, Franco Harris stands alone. In all, 12 different quarterbacks have won the Most Valuable Player award for a Super Bowl. But only San Francisco 49ers quarterback Joe Montana has won it a record 3 times. His unique brand of icy poise and this big game pressure cooker was there from his very first Super Bowl.
In Super Bowl 16, Joe basically managed, directed, and moved the team. We depended on real consistency and efficiency with everyone else, but Joe Montana's mobility and his dramatic form of play made the difference.
Calling his signals is Joe. He's going to sneak it. He's in. A 49er touchdown.
At the tender age of 25, Montana ran and passed the 49ers to victory and won his first MVP award. 3 years later, he outdueled Dan Marino for MVP award number 2 as the 49ers destroyed the Miami Dolphins 38-16.
Crossback, short drop, fake swatch. He's going to run it himself. He's into the end zone. Touchdown, 49ers!
But it was in the closing minutes of Super Bowl 23 that Montana's cold-blooded obsession to be number 1 passed into legend.
It took a 3-minute drive at the end of the game, going the length of the field, and it was Joe Montana again. And that was one of the great drives in football history.
The 49ers have a long way to go.
He came into the huddle, and I was like yelling and screaming, "Come on, let's go. This is the biggest drive of my life. If we want the ring, we got to go out and get it." And he looked at me, and it was during one of those long TV timeouts they have in the Super Bowl, and he looked at me and goes, "Hey, H." You know, that's what he calls me, Harris. H. "Hey, H, check it out." I go, "What?" And he goes, "Hey, look over there in that end zone." And I look there, and he goes, "Hey, there's John Candy." And I go, "John Candy?" And sure enough, John Candy's sitting there eating some popcorn. And I look at him, I look at the clock, and, you know, there's 3 minutes to go in the game, the biggest game of the year. And he's so relaxed that, and then all of a sudden the TV timeout ended, and next thing I know, we're marching down the field for the winning drive.
Montana back to
to throw on first down. Throws over the middle. Completes it to Craig. Craig is at the 60.
Get some movement in there. Get some movement. If you're worried about the scrambling run thing, that's good. But don't just shoot gap. He'll take us apart and get the field goal.
I felt we had a lot of time on the clock.
2:35 remaining.
All we had to do was just keep pressure on them and try to make something positive out of every play.
Back to throw, a little dunk over the middle, caught by John.
And that was my basic approach in throwing the ball, was that if I had somebody open right away and it wasn't my first receiver, I'm going to give it to him and let him gain 5, let him gain 10, and try to maintain that pressure on the defense.
Oh, get the halfback. Somebody get the halfback.
All the way to the other side of the field.
Joe back to throw. Steps up, throws. Out here for right. He has it. Midfield goes out of bounds at about...
Though he trailed, it now seemed as though Montana had the Bengals right where he wanted them.
We got 3 timeouts. This is deja vu.
Montana trying to drive him into the field here with the game in the balance. Throws over the middle. A fine catch by Right. Right into the 20. He's down to the 19 for a first down for the 49ers. 40 seconds remaining. The 49ers will have to take a timeout here, and they do.
It's such a sight to watch this. It is, whether it happens now or not, to watch Joe Montana do this so many years, and to watch this absolute surgeon on the football field and one of the all-time greats do his thing again, it's almost like poetry.
At the 10-yard line, 39 seconds remaining. Montana at quarterback, in motion, comes right. Back to throw, Montana. Steps up, throws. Touchdown!
Driving a team in the last minute, throwing a touchdown pass to win the Super Bowl is the ultimate. And there's no better way to end your season than to do it that way.
In Super Bowl 24, Montana topped himself with a history-making performance that included a Super Bowl record 5 touchdown passes.
It was this unique, fully dimensional mind that Joe has to be able to do those things when other people would be struck by the drama and the pressure of a World Championship game. So Joe was truly brilliant, became maybe the greatest football player of his time during that game.
Four Super Bowl victories. 11 touchdown passes without an interception. A record 3 most valuable player awards. Joe Montana, the quarterback of the all-time Super Bowl team. A collection of men who have coached or played their best when everything was at stake in pro football ultimate game.